All right, welcome back, guys, to the Card Guys A to Z series. This is episode 7 with Allen Lau from Blue Pitch, team captain extraordinaire, and has many notable accomplishments that he's going to let us know right now, like world's top 16s multiple times. Tell us your accolades.
Yeah, first, thanks for having me. I'm
Absolutely.
Allen Lau, captain of Team Bluefish, and I played Dash for almost 2.5 years since world's the first worlds and the world's Barcelona and the Pro Tour Baltimore. I all bring the Dash uh to the tier 4 events. And I think my accolades, notables, is I got Dash with both world top 16, and I'm pretty happy with that.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're considered one of the best Dash, if not the best Dash player. You're kind of up there with like Sam Sutherland and all that when people think about Dash, right? So you definitely have the expertise. So this is going to be a good video for people trying to look at Dash and whatnot, right? So we are going to link Blue Pitch in the description below, so guys can go check out their YouTube channel, and they're on Twitter Space, and they do a lot of cool content, a lot of Q&As after these tier 4 events. So those are always good content to go check out. Right. So let's look at this deck here. We're going to kind of talk about the different ways that we can build Dash here. So, Alan, you built this deck for us for this video to kind of, have a little bit of variety here. There's kind of going back in time a little bit. I've seen a lot of lists that don't have like the pistol package nowadays, but you opted to have this pistol package. So kind of tell us why you went with this style of Dash that has like this kind of hybrid game plan again.
So first, you can look at my D60. This is against the Argo matchups, and yes, I'm talking about Sand,
Yep.
because
Yep.
Sand is the majority of the meta is a deck to beat, and that's why I play Tasha in this matchup. And uh, I also I saw some players they played no pistol package or at most one induction chamber
Right.
in their deck, but I think uh, if you play this, then you will auto lose against victors. So I decided to play some uh, plasma purify, and I think two is a perfect number split of this,
Yeah. Yeah.
and against, because we don't have something like Bravo anymore, so
Mm.
we can cut some defense reaction to play more aggressive cards into the deck. So
Right.
which also makes you don't have to worry when you use your Taco Foundry Heart to get a miss, or when and your boost will be missed, so you don't have to worry about this, and it's very important.
Right.
And so this the Tasha, which originally played from the very long time ago, the calling champion Singapore.
Mm.
I think is won by Jason. So he played this Tasha build. Um, I think this is very good because fatigue is no longer an option in this matter, because Sand
Right.
is just stamping on them. So Tasha is a higher damage representation than against two, and you don't have to worry about fatigue anymore. So this better than um, pistol against most Argo matchup.
Yeah. Yeah. It makes sense to me. So kind of give us an idea of like why you would choose Dash in this meta.
Uh, so actually, Dash um has games against Sand. This most important, and secondly, there's not much Dash expert, then
Sure.
you can practice. And for me, it sounds like weird, but Dash is like a road stack right now,
Mm-hmm.
and people may not have enough experience to play against it.
Right.
So actually, it is considered one of the fastest Argos before
For
Sand
sure.
come out, and the pressure with the tackle ponder and the chance of getting insane opening start like slamping another tackle punders
Right.
in your first turn is always amazing. And also the hybrid that he can pivot in the middle games, which is always amazing. And when you use pistol package, 2 and 2 is very hard to defend. So which makes it more hard to fatigue. And what was the question? Sorry, I forgot.
So the question was, why would you play Dash in this meta? So you referenced that it's kind of a rogue deck, which makes sense. A lot of
Yeah,
people don't. They're not really expecting Dash as like they're expecting the Zens and the Enigmas and the News and Victors and Azaleas and stuff like that. Dash isn't really on the radar, right? Even though it's like
yeah,
one of the better decks at racing things like Zen, and we saw it at the Pro Tour, right? Like we saw
yeah,
Sam Sutherland playing. I think he played against Pudding, right? And it
yeah, yeah,
was
yeah.
a super close game, like super close for sure. But yeah,
I think if Sam draw one maximum velocity, then he can break through.
right,
But
exactly,
yeah, it is very close game.
right.
I saw it on live, and yeah, it's very close.
Yeah. I was watching light too. I was rooting for Pudding. I was like, come on, you can get there. But like the dash deck was very impressive at that stage too, with the Talishar and the Stonewall Gauntlet and all that kind of stuff, right? So definitely not as represented as we would kind of expect, I suppose, but still a pretty solid pick. Like this is Dash has always been a very strong hero because of the consistency that is available to Dash, and
Yeah,
I mean she's about to living legend if she's not careful. You know, she's pretty close. So um,
yeah, she's very close.
yeah, yeah, for sure. Okay, so let's go to the main deck. So right here you have 60 cards, and this is just kind of your baseline, right? So what I see a lot of people generally do is they'll have all of their sideboard cards out and then kind of go through each matchup individually, right? It looks like you have a base 60, and this is maybe your aggro package or something along
Yeah,
those lines.
so I think the main desk of this is this 60 cutting about the combustor courier
Yep,
and the max V and the yellow T-bone. And outside of this 8 cut, then the remaining 52 is pretty stack.
okay,
And I think those 52 is the main deck of the dash,
sure,
I would
sure.
say.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so we have our equipment. We're gonna go into some of these cards a little bit in more detail. So of course you have your Achilles Accelerator. This is kind of stock into everything at this point, right? It has Arcane Barrier built in because for Arcane Rising, for whatever reason, they decided to make all this equipment have Arcane Barrier and also be very good, right? So very strong.
Yeah.
Um, and then you have your opportunities to kind of use this at different stages. Maybe you want to go into kind of in general, not specifics yet, because we're going to talk about these matchups. But like, when are you trying to get value out of this, and how much value are you trying to get out of this in general? Maybe.
For Argo matchup, I think it's very common that you slam because in an Argo matchup is may fast as you can swing
Sure.
your Tasha for 3 times. So don't be afraid to use it earlier to do a play such as slamping slamping the Spark of Genius and then break the accelerators
Sure.
to activate the Foundry Heart for the Tasha.
Sure.
Because don't the arcing barrier doesn't matter, and the action points. I saw some dash beginners. They always stick when they end games. They didn't use this because they think it's always a better chance to play it, to use it. So, but I think if you pay Tasha, then you may consider to break it earlier for
Right.
extra damage. And in the pistol package, it would be great if you can lay down your plasma fine to do 4 instead of 2. And anytime, because I think basically anytime that you do spark, and then if your hand was quite awful, then you can boost into spark and then draw a card and then
Right.
break the accelerators to determine how you get going later in the turn is also very good. So
Mhm.
for me, this is the only choice of the for the dash, and is performing amazing.
Sure.
Not even mention that this keep checking Anti Sentinel
Yeah.
and
Yeah. Exactly.
one AB for the Kanos is amazing.
Yeah, yeah. It has a lot of utility. This is one of the best boots, if not the best boot for mechanologists that you can play, unless you're like Teklo and you have to play the proto stuff, but you know what I mean. Okay, so Balance of Justice, we've seen this cropping up across many, many decks just because we have so much Art of War and Bloodrush Bellows. I assume that is the same case in this.
Yep. So Balance of Justice is also the only head in my deck
Yep.
list, and I think we have argued that we can also play Craft Ordinance, and I don't
Mm,
against it. But for me, the one extra hands, because giving one extra hands to dash is much meaning very meaningful,
right,
because
right.
your big turn like Max V and High Octane, um, you always want one more hand. So
Yeah, yeah. This kind of helps
to make
enable
it,
those plays, maybe. Yeah.
yeah. So uh, this this head is amazing in the meta. Many
Mm-hmm.
decks draw tools, and I I think I think most of the time you will play this, and in some matchups that you may want Providence, and if you think you have an extra slots, then I also suggest you play Crown of Providence. But I
Sure.
find my spot very tight, so I just only play Balance of Justice.
Yeah. Yeah, it makes sense. This is an all-star in the meta for sure. What's interesting is you do note that it can kind of help enable that max velocity. So I'm used to playing defensive decks. Everybody knows that, right? So I generally use this as a 5 block value in a way, where you're
Yeah,
using this as you're converting your cards into more damage, right? Which is like another interesting way to look at this. So there's a lot of avenues of play with this card. It's arguably better in your deck than it is in a lot of decks, which is pretty neat. So we'll
yeah,
move on to Stonewall Gauntlet. So most people know about this card at this stage. When this defends an attack with power greater than its base, opposing attacks get -1. Generally, this is something you play on like a Descendant Gust Wave because you know they're going to play a Bonds line and against Zen and so on and so forth. Is there another like kind of opportunity that you're using this against those style of decks, or like I know it's pretty decent against things like maybe Command and Conquer if you're playing against something when you know that they have like a pump against a KO or something, right? um I'll let you kind of say your piece.
yeah. Uh, this this equipment is I think is basically for Zen, and is
Right.
a necessary evil, and because it is usually providing 4 values,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
block for 1, and then minus the combat chain, because
Right.
Zen cannot break the combat chain. And besides gust wave turns, then you can also block when they have chase the tail turns. I think it's also
Yep.
-4 value.
Yep.
And because but I do think it's a debate that we can cut this card, because bonds blue and yellow are no longer in the deck,
Sure.
so we don't have a maximum value for defense for double bonds turn usually, and but still it's a good card against sand, and
Mm.
uh, I don't see I'm cutting it and unless I see another uh, banning on sand, which I
Right.
don't see is coming, and I think this card should be a staple in my deck right now.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, block 4 is very good for one piece of
Yeah,
armor, obviously, right?
yeah,
So, very
yeah,
good card, and especially with the most popular deck being Zen, this makes a lot of sense. But it does have utility in other spots as well, is kind of what I'm getting at. So, very good card. Like your other options were like Iron Rock Gauntlet, and this is just literally the same thing, but with more text. It's great. Love it.
yeah,
So
yeah,
we talked a little bit about Talishar, and this card has always been very interesting to me because it's like, the way I play, like I said, I'm more of a control player and I like to swing my weapon multiple times. Well, you only get to swing it 3 times with this, but in your case, you only have to swing it 3 times because you're usually killing them by that third swing, right? So,
yeah. So everything in a dash deck is burn out very fast.
right.
Your boost, you burn out one card. Your activate tackle foundry hard, you burn out 2 cards,
This is
and
very on
even
theme.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it is very on theme with the dash and uh, I, is that's why I said uh you can pick dash in this matter because some people might not know play more defensive against, or they can't play more defensive against dash, which lets the Tasha have their maximum value. So
Right.
and yeah, so I think you should run Tasha in this matter.
Yeah. Yeah. It's very good. I've definitely been on the wrong side of it when I'm not playing Guardian, and this card is very, very impressive for sure. And then, of course, we have our Tekla Bounty Heart. This has been a staple ever since this Mechanologist has come out in general. And this has a lot of utility in it. Just in general, it being a block 3 effectively, the 2 and then the 1 because of the normal battle worn. You get extra resources that helps enable your turns a little bit easier, and it's also very good against Wizard. People tend to forget about that too because you can just hey, I'm going to get extra resources and have stuff floating up, right? So
Yeah, this 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 equipment always has a special place in my heart because
yeah,
I always think this is one of, if not the best chess piece in the game. It provides resource every turns. It blocks for free,
hmm
and I can't see I can ask for more for
yeah, yeah, it's great.
chess piece.
It's super good, right?
And in a Argo matchup, then you see your opponents don't did not plan to fatigue you. You don't afraid to use it every turns,
Mm-hmm.
and in a you see your opponents are playing quite defensively, then you might have to consider to use it lessly.
Right.
So, which makes you lesser to get fatigued. And mostly important is remember to block it when you feel the game's close in 2 turns. So which you get all the block value into it, and
Mm-hmm.
it's very common and it's very boring. But I saw many players they left their battle one equipments and the games when they only block once.
Sure.
So and they can cap a cut if they block earlier, just 1 turn
Right.
earlier. So it's very important to utilize your battle one equipments, and this card is just amazing.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. It's they're not making battle worn equipment anymore for a reason. So, and not at this stage.
Yeah,
They do make them, but they block one, right? So, okay, yeah. So of course the equipment is very streamlined, have some very good options here. We'll talk about kind of the main deck here and what some of the power cards are. We'll look at all the cards in general because we're playing a lot of rainbow strips of everything in these kind of stock pieces, right? But we have some pieces that we're going to side in and out. But let's talk about some of the power cards first. Max Velocity being one. This is the popper of all poppers when you're playing against illusionists and whatnot, right? So a 2 for 10 that if you've boosted 3 more times, you can play this. Like, in general, you're being aggressive. You go like, boom, here's a 0 cost, 0 for 60 or something like that. Or 0 to 60, I should clarify. And into, like a pulse wave harpoon and into like a T-bone, or, you flip those last 2 and then play a max velocity. It's just like an insane amount of damage. And then you can, even if you have the extra resources, crack your Achilles like we talked about and hit them with Talishar again, right? Yeah, there's a lot of power with this card. Would you say that you kind of lean towards like trying to arsenal this card in like an aggro specific matchup and trying to make this line up? Is that like kind of a general game plan?
I I will happy to arsenal this, and but I also have many games that I arsenaled it and I didn't play
Yeah,
and when the game ends. But I do have to mention it because this card is the power card in the deck that kind of force you to arsenal the 0 cost boost cards
sure.
to maximize when you draw it the chance you're playing it in that turn. And
Yeah,
is card that is a lot of debate, and I think you always want 3 offs, and the you have when you can choose between arsenaling of red photos or something like yellow 0 to 60, then I would choose yellows because
Yeah,
you have to maximize to draw it when you maximize the chance that you can play when you draw it a turn or a later, because otherwise it was always stuck in your arsenal or you get blocked with it. So if your maximum velocity in the middle game didn't show once, then you might have to consider that when you arsenal this, that it's very likely that you're drawing another maximum velocity in coming turns, which is not good. So this card is it has been all star in this deck. It's better when they print the twin drive, and when you get lucky enough, then you can do a 4-hand maximum velocity turns, which are blues and a twin drive and a 0 cost.
right.
So but it's quite rare, and I think if you have enough advantage against illusionists, that you maybe you have a huge life leading, so and you want to maintain it, don't consider it to use this as a purpose,
Right.
and don't hesitate to use it as a purpose, and otherwise I would have very happy to see it early, because if you see it as late, then this means the chance that you're playing is getting lower.
Sure. Yeah, that makes sense. I actually learned a lot just in this, like last 60 seconds about like, arsenaling a red throttle, which is a higher damage play, versus like a yellow 0 to 60. That makes a lot of sense because you want to maximize your potential to be able to play these cards. So very good point. And then you mentioned the potential to have like a 4-card hand, being able to play this with a twin drive and a 0 cost boost. So let's go ahead and lead into Twin Drive, which is the other card we were just talking about. This is one of the newer upgrades to the deck. I say newer, it's been a while. It came out in Evo. But it's just double boost, which allows you to hit your your triple boost that you need to be able to play your max velocity, right?
Yeah. Is as damage is not quite exciting because
Sure.
it's a 2 for 5. But as a utility, it's amazing because it can cooperate with maximum velocities
Mm,
and as well as the halting. So when your game's getting late, then you can play the twin drive, and then maybe follow up with a max V, or you play halting first, and
right.
then get 3 extra points for a double boost, which is always amazing. And this is a card that I really want to Arsenal because
Right.
most of the time, it will be very how to say it is very flexible
Right.
card. And even if you don't have a card to support it, and you can just
Mm,
play it boost once as a 2 for 5, it's still okay, I would say. And
yeah.
this card is it's a glue. It's a glue in the deck and
Sure.
connect some power cards to make it playable.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, this card just being flexible and allowing you to have multiple plans of attack with it is really important. So, yeah, this card has always been great ever since it came out. It's been pretty much a staple in all of these boost style mechanologist decks like Dash IE and Dash IO, right? So very good in both of those. We were talking about high octane. We see that this is in the sideboard. We'll talk about that in just a second. Makes sense why it's in the sideboard, of course. But the other side too is it's very very synergistic with something like a pulse wave harpoon, right?
Yeah. I forgot to mention it. Yeah, it's very synergized with the pulse wave harpoon.
Yep. So let's talk about
And
this one.
uh this card is neat, and it's the key of getting through in the Argo mirrors.
Yep.
Because in the Argo mirrors, every players they want to keep a forecast hand with an arsenal,
Right.
and when you can strip away with a card from them in a out of 4 turns or barrage battle turns,
Right.
it always feel amazing. Uh, this card is uh every time I play like, every time I play it and my friends play against it, they will always swearing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm the same way. It's just like, oh my god, you took my gold main estate. This is the worst.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and I have I don't think I have to further explain this card. Amazing. I
very
would
good.
say at some extent is even stronger than the maximum velocity because
For sure, for sure.
uh, so uh, remember is the combat chain, so
Right,
uh, don't use it in the middle that for example you boost and then uh foundry hard, and it
right,
will not get free cards.
right.
And in this matter, it's very few decks that running many two blocks. When Fire was a very good deck, then this card is more good because even you boost twice, then you can very easy to get a 2 blocks.
Right. Yep.
But right now, I will suggest that it's better to try to get to boost 3 times that you can
Mm,
guarantee to get a card
for sure.
from them.
Yep. Yeah, this card is like I believe the only interaction like disruptive interaction that you have in this deck, but it's like one of the best ones in the game for sure because you force take cards out of your opponent's hand like a Blood Rush Bellow, which is huge, right? Like you take that very key critical card, even taking like the only blue out of somebody's hand is very annoying for them, right? So this card has been an all-star, and that's what you mean I believe, when you say like it could be better than the max velocity, because if you can handicap somebody's turn entirely, it's worth more value than the damage you would have dealt, right? Yeah.
Yep.
Yep. It's huge. Yeah, very good card nonetheless. So, yeah, good point. I was going to point that out too. Is if you use all of your resources and then you use Tekla Foundry Heart because you want to attack with another one or something along those lines afterwards or something like that, like it will break the chain, and this does force that it's the amount of times you boosted on this combat chain here, right? So, very key thing to note because I have seen people break the chain. They play this, and I'm just like, oh, okay, I'll show you the one card I'm blocking with. It doesn't matter, right? So, yeah. But either way, fantastic card. We'll kind of talk about the dash specializations now before we get to the rainbow strips here. So, Spark of Genius has always been a great card. It's one of the best turn one plays that you can make, especially if you have like multiple Teklo Pounders in your deck. You can turn one, I'm going to go get a Teklo Pounder #2, and then just have like insane damage output for the first or the next 3 turns of the game. This also is great, notably if you play it for 0 and go get a Teklo Core, which is the other dash specialization that we'll talk about in just a second. But let's talk about Spark of Genius. Block 3, yellow pitch, double X cost. If you've boosted, you get to draw a card with this too. Notably, this does use your action point, so a lot of times, like what you were saying earlier, is you're going to have to crack your Achilles Accelerator unless you had played something like a High Octane in one of the pistol style matchups, right? So,
Yep.
what are your thoughts on this card?
This is a codex before codex.
Sure. Yep. That's fair.
This I would say this is very strong card, and I it's generally above. If I have to pick one power card, this is the power card,
Okay.
and is good in turn one. It's good in the middle game. The it is not good at the late game, but
Sure.
the you because you can always grab your friends that tackle core,
Right.
and tackle core give you 4 resource. Let's say if we turns 1 resource into 1 damage appropriately, uh, and a draw a card, so it's basically a 0 for 7 to
Right.
8.
Yep.
And I think the fun the, this common part about good deck is you don't you don't have to worry about you can arsenal or not. It's very important for great stat. We can see for the Mystic Heroes, they can abuse E-Strike, so they can draw a card and then put into arsenal no matter what they draw. So for Dash, it's same ideas. So whatever you draw from the Spark of Genius, you can always arsenal it.
Yep.
Even it's a worse, maybe 0 for 1 that utilize it utilize your next turn to play some maximum velocity or the harpoon, like I said before. They need boost times, and this card, I think, I, I think this usually gets the tackle cores, and for some rare times, maybe 1 pistol package, you can get your chamber or the plasma purify, and
Right. It's
uh
very good for the
you
pistol matchup for sure.
yeah, I don't I think what I I I cannot describe how this card is that good, because it's just very good in the
Yeah.
deck.
Yeah. No, it's a great card. And you were talking about like grabbing the Tekla core, and you were kind of explaining the math of this. Can you explain that again for us?
Uh, so this tackle course is uh I would say tackle core is two. draw you two cards. Why I say that, because it gives your two resource in 2 turns. So 2 resource I think represent likely 1 hand to pitch. So
Right.
it turns your maximum velocity on, because it's quite easy that you draw some 2 cost attack actions into an maximum velocity, which you usually cannot play maximum velocity in that turn, but with Taco Core that you can do it. So
Yeah.
it's also a blue, which means when you drew it on your hand, then you can pitch it, and then it goes to the bottom. So which means your boost won't boost it away, and then your Spark of Genius always can find it. So
Yep.
I think these 2 dash specialization was I can see they design it very strongly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, these are
And
super strong cards.
very amazing.
Yeah, just like you said, that this makes a whole lot of sense on that front, where it's like this effectively allows you to use your 4th card not as a resource but as a offensive card, because the way the deck is structured, right, you have a bunch of zero cost cards, and then your 1 cost cards. And if you have 0 cost and 1 cost cards and you use your Foundry Heart, you're effectively making a blue out of the 2 resources that goes up to a 3, and you're able to play the majority of your hands, which is like really, really powerful, right? And yeah, this card has always been an all-star in Dash. Before Teklo Pounder came out in the aggro matchup, this used to be the card that you always got, because it is just that powerful. But now we get the Teklo Pounder in the aggro matchup, right?
Yep. My friends always said that Dash hero ability is -6 health of your opponent when the game starts.
Basically, yeah, with this card for sure.
So again, something like Kano is 24 against 40. So that's why they always describe it. Dash is the worst matchup for Kano, and this card is always great. And this the 6 damage coming from nowhere, coming for the start of the game. You don't have to do anything for it. So
it's literally
just
free.
a 6 damage.
Yep.
And also is amazing. If you lucky enough, then you can jam it on your first turn, which means you can start with 2 ponders in the start of the game, which I feel unlosable against
for sure.
even maybe Sand even. And I love Dash the podcast, even with the item they are blues, which means the only bad thing will happen is you draw multiples, but it's very rare happening. And the items in blue, meaning that even you don't have room to play it, you can still use it as a pitch. It's very amazing. In a pistol package, you use it as a pitch, and it's still very good. And I have to mention that use your Spark of Genius to grab Tackle Core always, unless you are in the turn 1. Don't pay 4 to grab the Tackle Ponder. It lose your tempo, and but still this the amazing card that you always want to see in turn 0. And for it is also very funny that in some grinder matchup that you place your tackle ponder in some middle turns. For example, you play some you use your pistol, shoot for 2, and then go again, and then pay some 0 for 3, and then you slam your tackle ponder at the last of your as a chain ender, it always catch the people off guard, such like they holding a sink below or something,
Right.
because
Right.
they always want to get the maximum value of the defense reaction, and slamming the items will catch them off guard, and they are losing their offensive turn.
Mm.
And also the tackle ponder is a important way to go through if your opponent is playing more defensively. and
Yeah.
it's it you if you play in the middle of the game, it will lose you tempo, because in mathematically you can thought it was a red photo, because it costs 2 and it provides 6 damage
Mm.
in the total of the game, but it is blue.
Right.
And so, but it lost tempo when you play it. So uh but so consider it when you feeling get fatigued by the enigmas, uh prisms, and new, and they play more defensively. Think more about to slamming the tackle punter as a
Sure.
chain ender. It will always help.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it makes sense. Yeah. That's a good note for me at least. So I used to play the Dash back when I first started. It was actually my first deck, believe it or not. Um, so going back and thinking about this, like I could see if you hadn't said something like that, me making the mistake of playing the Tickle Pounder and relinquishing all value. But when you put it in the thought process of that, it's just a red throttle, but at blue. It makes a lot of sense. It's just like, would you relinquish all of your tempo for a delayed red throttle? Probably not. But like you said, in the matchups where you need to push a little bit more, especially like Enigma, where you need to keep their board clear and whatnot, it makes a lot of sense to do this as a book end when you've done all the work to clear the board, right? And then
Yep.
you're able to set this up to make sure you keep clearing their board. That's a very good play. That makes sense to me. And since we talked about red throttle, we'll talk about kind of the rest of the filler of the deck. All the cards are still very good, of course, but Red Throttle is, just an added in Mechanologist Popper that is a 2 for 6 with boost and block 3. The whole deck basically blocks 3. You're very good at defense, right? And you play all copies of this, right? Do you have any
Yep.
comments on Throttle, just besides that it's a pretty well statted card?
For me, photo is always good when you get your tackle course, because you don't have to worry about the resource.
Right.
And I I think the OGs, the set 2 Arcane Rising boost card, is both very amazing.
Yes.
And in mathematically, uh, I have a card value theory that I will I will I will the damage uh define the cost plus 3.
Mm.
So
Mm.
it's the card value. So in the value, photo is the worst amongst hit 0 to 60 and the super hit. But in real life, red photo is the curve for red photo is much better for the super hit, because
Sure.
it's very hard to find another one cost attack to cooperate with and super hit. So I think this is the second best amongst the OG boost.
Sure.
And not to also we have to notice that the red photo as a purpose,
Yep.
and it breaks through when some grindy end game. Then you play a red photo, you take away his 2 hands,
Right. Yeah.
and 2 for 6 go again is amazing, as well as the
Yeah.
blues. The blues 4 provide a breakpoint, and
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
always amazing. The yellow photo is I saw many lists did not play it, and I understand why.
Mm.
But my theory that there's a reason that they don't print the same stacks with this boost card, because we can
Right.
see the bright lights they printed are not as powerful as it used to be.
Right. Exactly.
And so that I think that's the reason that play you should play 9 offs of all your OG boost card, and 2 for 5 and is really matter when the end game, when you
Yeah. Yeah.
use most of your red boost card, and then 2 for 5. I always say 2, 5, and 8 is a awkward number for blockers.
Right.
So make sure that you always attack with this number when if you feel like your opponent trying to get their free blocks on the cards,
Mm.
so you can always get through with your attack. And yeah, I think photo, it always it surely has its problems, which is too cost, not
Sure.
too good to help with your other boost attack. But in the math, this is a good card, and we need some big attack to push through the turns. Otherwise, your opponent can block free, and then
Right.
block all your attack. And yeah,
Yeah.
it helps you get through your turns, get through your opponents.
Yep. No, that makes sense. So I remember you made a video, I think it was the first Worlds, and you kind of explained like the mathematics of like 5 and 8, especially in the matchups where they're trying to be more defensive and fatigue. And these numbers, you just push more damage. It makes complete sense to me. And I have a lot of theory behind like the way you evaluate cards in general, where you take the cost of the card plus the power of the card plus the pitch value. Um, or the block value minus the cost and whatnot. I butchered that completely. Let me try again. 6 plus 3 plus 1 pitch minus 2 is 8, which is the overall value of a generic card. That's the same thing as like a wounding blow, is the same thing as a command and conquer and whatnot. And then you can assign point values to additional text on cards, right? So boost,
Yep.
in general, go again, I kind of value at a +2, sometimes +1. It's very contextual, right? But if you think about it this way, this is conditional go again, but it's like always turned on the way you have the deck built. So this is always a very above rate card. Every single one of these original Arcane Rising cards are above rate because of their stat line being on par with every other card that was originally designed, but also gaining go again, right? So it makes complete sense that you want to play these cards. And you were talking about these other ones. This one is likely the best one for obvious reasons, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, 0 for 4 go again, unconditional. Besides getting rid of a card, but you're killing them before you run out of deck anyway. It makes sense, right? Great card.
Yeah. I also want to mention that
Sure.
why photo is pretty good, because it has some situation that when you're drawing a blue, but all your attack is 0 cost. Because I most of my deck attack action are 0 cost,
Right.
and Throttos can use all the blue resource from it, and
Mm.
is quite important. Yeah.
Yeah, makes sense. But yeah, 0 to 60, 0 for 4, it enables a lot of the game plan for your deck in general. It's obviously very flexible cards. Even the blue at a 0 for 2 is a very annoying number to block, especially late game. A lot of people use their armor. They can't just give away their 1 block armor. They have to give you a card a lot of times. Whereas you play something like a T-Bone. Well, T-Bone's annoying in a whole different way, but Sprocket Rocket is probably a better example. I can give you 1 piece of armor and not care. It's kind of like a Kadachi block, right? So these cards, of course, fantastic in all capacities.
Yeah.
And then Zipper Hit is just right in the middle, but that's still very, very good for obvious reasons. You know, a 1 for 5 unconditional go again is like so strong, so strong. And same thing
Yeah.
with going down the list here. I've always, like, when I first started, thought this card was very lackluster, but you know, with experience, I've figured out that all of these cards are really, really strong, and they help boost the consistency of the deck, which is why you're able to get the results that you did with these. Right? You're playing the max amount of these consistent cards, and you're just being better, you know. So love that.
Yeah.
Some of the newer cards though, like T-Bone for instance, we've seen T-Bone in previous metas, like especially Lexi meta, where this card was like an all-star because you were able to go like T-Bone, Magnetic Shockwave, and then blow up their New Horizons, and then you felt super, super good. What do you think about it in this meta?
I think T-Bone is always good as a annoying zero chord boost,
Yep.
and but I think the reason why I did not run magnetic shockwave is because I think T-Bone magnetic shockwave is just a gym,
It's
and
asking a
not
lot to happen for sure. Yeah.
yeah, and but the T-Bone as itself, even though it's a bit off rate compared
Mm.
with the 0 to 60s, and it's still very good in the meta,
Right.
especially Sand, when they all have break break
Right.
equipments,
Yep.
and also at the late game, when you see your opponents getting low, and you use red T-bone boost and attack for a target for their two block equipment. It
Mhm.
feels very annoying for them because they have to block it and then lose one life, and
Right.
you can drink their life repeating doing that. And red T-bone and blue T-bone is must for a deck. Yellow
For sure.
T-bone, yellow T-bone is I would say is very meta depending. For me, I not a big fan of this card, but I think you have to play it in your deck right now. Just giving that this is a good card against Sand. And I actually side it out most of the time, and there's a reminder that don't focus on equipment disruption against them, because is whenever they have transcend, then all your T-bones become much more worse because your they can block with the traverse, and then
Right. Right.
and your T-bone doesn't do any jobs. But still, going first against Zen, jamming some T-bones or slamming some items always feel great.
Sure.
And yeah,
Yep. Yep. Super solid card. Always been very annoying to play against, of course. And we're almost at the end on the main deck cards here. So we have Sprocket Rocket. So I assume this is just kind of to fill out the zero cost curve to have some consistency. It says if you boost an item or an equipment, this gets +1. So you're kind of like making a 0 to 60 in the off chance that you get one of these items. Not bad.
yeah, it's just a filler of the deck,
Right.
and zero cost is always smooth for the curve. And yeah, there's this to say. It's just a bonus if you can get four
Sure.
attack with this,
Yeah. Yeah.
and don't it, it is some games that you play for the late games. If you remember your pitch deck correctly, then you
Sure.
can use this as a 4. Okay.
So we've talked about Sprocket Rocket and all of the rest of the cards here. The only ones that we have not talked about really is this Combustible Courier. So Combustible Courier is if it hits the next attack, you boost, this combat chain gets +3. It's a 2 for 4, so it's one of the lower stated cards, but with the on hit, it's one of the better stated cards. And this is a card I assume you want to play in aggro because they don't want to block. It forces more interaction. This is almost like it's completely different from Pulse Wave Harpoon, but this forces cards out of their hand. This also forces cards out of their hand, and if they don't, then you do stupid amount of damage, right?
This card, uh, I this card is not great in the previous meta when
Right.
Kyle is around. They have insane armor block,
Right.
and but now against Sand, their armors was very valuable. And if you draw the Combustor Courier in earlies, or
Mm-hmm.
so they they won't give up their armor yet. So it's just a 2 for 7 if you think it on hit. And I think it's a meta core when your opponents tend to have not blocking, then this card is good.
Yeah.
Otherwise, is I will say is a blue photo, but only pitch for red, so, which makes the card considered very worse. But
Sure.
it forced to take cut from your opponents against Argo, which is great, and
Mm-hmm.
they against Azalia, which she don't have much armor, then you can always get map values against Azalia. And this card, I will if I find the curve doesn't look good, then I won't hesitate to block it because
Sure.
it's just it just it felt like it's a punishment when your opponent can fully block it, and it's not too
Yeah.
good for a
Yeah.
2 cost.
No, it makes sense. It's a conditional. You're trying to get cards out of your opponent's hands, and if they don't want to block, then this card is still very good, right? It makes sense to me.
Yep.
Where it's when your opponent doesn't want to interact with you, you say, "Okay, that's fine. I'm going to hit you harder." That's that's good with me, right? Okay,
Yeah.
so this is the main stock. Very solid, very consistent list here. We'll talk a little bit about the sideboard now. So you have one backup protocol red, 3 high octane, 2 induction chamber, 2 purifiers, and 2 Tekla pounder, and a plethora of equipment over here. Okay, so why don't we start with the equipment, and we'll look at Visitronic Model I because this is one of the easier ones to kind of explain. What
Yeah.
matchup do you play this into?
I play this against Kano,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe for the upcoming meta for the Rosetta
Sure,
heroes.
sure.
And I think any desk who can two equipment piece for free AB, they always should do this.
Sure.
And this the test is just blank. Don't worry about it. And
Okay.
two AB is good enough to against Kano.
Sure.
And in some spicy turn that you have against Kano, you have to break your accelerator early, which
Mm,
is not ideal. But even if you do, you still have 2AB to back up. And but for now, this card only this card is only for Kano, and
sure.
yeah, without it you can't beat Kano, so it's a must for me.
Yep. Yep. Makes sense. Okay. Now we have adaptive plating. So, what spot do you generally put adaptive plating onto?
Adaptive plating, I generally use it when you when your opponent plays something like CNC or some disruption attack and like Guardian Victors,
Mm-hmm.
and you use it at the late game, use it as a free block to save extra hand to
Sure.
attack with it, and it feels great. And in the early of the game, if you find a hard time to block, and don't hesitate to use this as a one block, and block with the foundry heart and a card to defend for something like command and conquer. So
Sure. So is this typically a glove slot? Is that kind of what you're going for on that?
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, because you don't want to get rid of Achilles. You want to play that in pretty much every matchup, right?
yeah, because it's too hard to give up in the
I,
yeah, for the legs. It's just too good.
yeah. Okay. Makes sense. So basically, you can think of this as another glove slot, like we were talking about. So you have just a bunch of gloves, right? So
Yeah, yeah.
you got Goliath Gauntlet here. So you crack it to make your next attack +2 if it costs 2 or greater. So you got a couple of those. That's your throttles, your twin drives, and your max velocities, and even combustible courier in some cases. I would imagine most of the time you want to put this on a maximum velocity just to push as much damage in a single turn as possible. What matchups are you bringing this into?
For those matchups that they don't give you much pleasure, like enigmas, like
Sure.
like prisms,
Yep.
that I really want to run into this Goliath Gauntlet, because it helps you clear the board with 2 extra damage,
Sure.
and it makes your maybe like something like red photo become a 248, which is very hard to defend. And
Right.
like you said, for the maximum velocity to get through a high damage turn is also quite important.
Mm-hmm.
And it's always good against some matchup that you don't always have to block. And I'm happy to with, yeah, my deck
Yeah.
has it.
Yeah, that makes sense. Just convert your defense that you don't need into offense. It's always a good way to think about things. And then you have your Spellfray gloves. We probably should have talked about this with the Visitronic, but I imagine you're only
Yeah,
playing this against Cannon, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So just to cover up a wildfire turn or something along those lines, just use it for their combo turn where you're forcing lethal at like a whatever stage of the game, maybe. Is there a spot that you might use it against like I forget the name of it. I think it's Aether Spindle is the one that opts. Would you use it against something like an Aether Spindle? Probably not, right? But I'm just throwing that out there.
Nah, I think it's either fair or the either wildfire.
Yeah.
Uh, Originally I did not conclude this card in the list, but right now Kano gets a Kindle buff,
Right.
which makes their killing turn a bit higher than before.
Right.
So against it, I have to. I try I try to play original like Goliath Gauntlet against them, and for some turn because of Kindle, I lost the game.
Sure.
And after some consideration, I think I have to play these gloves to respect them, and it is a deflect of the Kindle, and which makes you a bit safer when you against Kano.
Yep. Yep. No, it makes sense. Yep. A solid card. If you have the spot, very solid option, at least in the glove slot, because you're kind of moving around those. Um, it's kind of funny. You see a lot of heroes, they have like the one arm or one slot of armor that they swap around all these pieces. Like for you, it's gloves. For Guardian, it's like legs. A lot of times you just like throwing your legs
Yeah,
around, right? It's pretty cool.
yeah.
So a lot of utility there. Okay, and then of course we have the Tecloplasma pistol. So this is the original item for or the weapon for the most part that everybody's been playing forever. Very good with your pistol game plan. That's why they call it the pistol game plan. Is because of the Tecloplasma pistol. Action, remove a steam counter on it to attack. Notice this does not say once per turn action. So action, pay 1 if there are no steam counters on Tecloplasma pistol. Put a steam counter on it. So the way this works is when you have an induction chamber out, you pay 1 to put a steam counter on this. And then you can, as a reaction, remove the steam counter to give your Mechanologist pistol attack go again. So mathematically, in general, it's pitch a blue, put a counter on pistol, put a counter on induction chamber, attack with pistol, removing the steam counter. Remove the steam counter in the reaction step to give it go again. Load pistol one more time, and you have a 1 card with your blue 4 damage, right? So just explaining that for the viewers here. So in general, you're bringing this pistol plan into kind of the more mid-rangey slash, like decks that your boost plan might not always get there, right? Is that kind of the vibe?
Um, I think right now in the meta, no matter how you play, you still have to boost. But you
Sure.
can decide how many times you boost. With the what I like in the pistol pen is you can save 3 cards in your hand because you pitch a blue and then uh, spend 2 resources on the chamber and the pistol.
Mhm.
Then without doing any other things, you just shoot the 2 first and see how
Right.
they react. So is I think it's usually they will just take 2 and it's great. And when you in the late game, then you have this pistol package, then you always feel great because
Mhm.
you strip away. It's just like a Kotachi lock in the
Yeah.
ninjas,
Yeah.
but instead it's a 2 for 2. Also, it if you compare to a guardian hammers, it's just like 3 for 4, but it's split,
Right.
which
Yeah.
means which makes it very hard to block. And also with the plastic profile, and is more setup card because right now pistol pen also divided into 2 parts, which means it's a part that you only play induction chambers because even you run pistol package, the game is also very tight that you don't
Right.
have room to play other plastic purify. And also there are some games that is not enough that you can have time to jam your plasma purify to help you get through some I would say not ultra but comparatively defensive deck, and always good to have them.
Hmm.
Don't be afraid to boost because you're running this, because if you afraid of boosting out your item and make your turns become less value, it's not worth it.
Right.
And usually how thing will get the job done. So the plasma purify is just a bonus. And also uh, you have to learn where is the spot that you don't need this item anymore,
Sure.
because there are some players they tend to trade more, trade their life more to attack stronger to you, so they lost a lot of health in the game, and suddenly the items becomes a burden
Right.
in your deck. And for for that is in it is some skill to remember the pitch deck that you can boost away your item instead of drawing it. For example, in some late game, you draw some, for example, like induction chamber, and you don't have room to play it, and then you pitch deck it, and then you have to remember you drew it or not, so you can boost away and get the final damage done. And pistol package is always the reason why Dash is a very viable deck, because it's not only Argos, but when your opponent adjusts their game plan, you can also adjust it. And
Yep.
I like it a lot.
Yeah, transformation game plans are always pretty good. Dory had like a transformation game plan last meta, and we saw how well she did. There was 2 of her in Pro Tour LA, right? So
Yep.
transformation game plans are always good, especially with a rogue deck like this. So I say rogue, obviously a very good hero, but not as popular as it used to be. But being able to say, like, hey, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. There's also the very defensive builds of Dash that people just don't know sometimes. And if they board incorrectly, you can win the game before the game even started, which is very, very neat. You mentioned high octane, so like there are some spots where you do want to continue boosting. Where in the past, the pistol game plan I've seen playing a lot of the defense reactions and whatnot, it was kind of a liability to boost, right? It was always a risk that if you boosted, then you would hit a defense reaction or an item or something like that that you needed for the long game. But you're playing all mechanologist cards now, so you have the ability to do so. So it sounds like you're just kind of playing for the highest damage, or not damage, the highest value throughout
Yep.
the course of the game. So if the value is to play an item early, you will get more value out of that item depending on how long the game goes. But if you're mid game, it might not be worth playing that item when you need to just
Yep.
go ahead and push more, which makes a lot of sense. And then we'll talk about high octane because this is a very, very strong card with pistol, because we mentioned pistol says not once per turn action attack, right? Which is the whole point of these chambers and purifiers and whatnot. And then with high octane, you do your boosting, you get extra action points, you use your Tekla core, get as many points as you can, and then fire, because these get +1 for 4, like 4 times or something along those lines, is I would consider pretty common.
Yep. It's a very good card.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, it does not pair well with the Tasha.
Sure.
It only works for the pistol pen, and ideally, is always great to shooting with the plasmic purify, and but sometimes you don't get it and the right turn, but it's still very good to shoot 2 extra. So for some players, there's some minor suggestion that you can, if you play your high octane turn,
Mm.
you can boost into a pistol and then boost into a pistol instead of boost, and then at last use your pistol to shoot. The reason why you should separate your pistol and then attack instead of shooting as last, because it's more hard to for them to make decision to block their,
Sure.
so you can get through the damage more easily. And if you have something like pulse wave harpoon, then just forget what I say. But
Yeah.
is usually a very good card. It also has some awkward time with the maximum velocity, but
Mm.
is too good to give up this card. And I don't think it's not too good to give up this card. And there's always always a card that I want to see when I playing pistol. And
Right.
yeah, so this interesting part of this card is red, rather you draw red or blue is a
Yep. Yep.
huge differences. And what I suggest is if you have something heavy like blue, just a single blue, and then something like red photos, I
Mm.
would suggest you not to play it, because it's too risky. If you draw another red, then your housing lose value, because
Right.
you want to abuse the action point, which is I think why I think this card is so strong. And uh, the ideal situation when you play it is usually you're holding 2 blues. So rather you drawing blues or the red, then is acceptable. And if you find you will get blowout by drawing red or blues,
Mm. Mm.
something like you're holding 4 blues and then you draw another blues, then not ideal. Then just don't play it. just find a suitable situation that rather you can accept drawing red or blue is also acceptable. Then you can play it confirmedly.
Yeah. Just maximize your value out of the card. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a good note because I have seen people play high octanes and draw red, and they have like a throttle, and they only get like maybe one extra pistol attack out of it, even after they use their like Tekla Foundry, right? So it's just like it's not super optimal to do something like that. It's one of the best cards to Arsenal if you can find the opportunity to do so. So you can set up a really big turn. Last card we have here is a one-up. So this backup protocol red that has crank, so you can refresh your action point. One note is with Spark of Genius, if you search this and you draw a card, you can crank and get your action point back and continue your turn, right? So very interesting card when these crank cards came out in Bright Lights. There's a lot of utility there. We see them mostly in Dash IO, but we do see maybe 1 to 2 copies or something along these lines in these Dash decks, or we have in the past at least. Tell us what you're doing with this card and kind of like the reason that you have this as a one-of.
Yeah, so this basically first is a very clunky card if you draw multiples. So one is suitable numbers when you play it on your deck.
Sure.
Secondly is like what you said, that Spark finding this. For example, some turns like you already have tackle cores, then you have unspendable resource, then the floating resource you can Spark to find this and then crack it for something like rest 0 to 60 to keep the chain link goes on. And but I think you can't play too many of this, because when you draw it, just like Dash IO drawing Boom Grenade on their hand, then you feel like you get IP because it is quite useless. And still for some panic situation, then you can activate it for the purpose to pop a so I would say this quite combo card, and I think I'm quite happy to have it on some longer games. And that's why I don't play in the Argo matchup, because I don't want to draw blank in some of the turn. But it's still quite impressive because I don't play it in the original time. So, but once I play it, I think this card is pretty good.
Pretty good. And in a way, you kind of play 4 copies of it if you think about it, right? Just because you can go get it whenever you want to, right? So, it being a one-of, it makes a lot of sense when you have cards that tutor for these extra cards, right? So, it makes sense. Kind of a enabler here. Don't want it in aggro. It's just another node block. You don't really necessarily need that. You have to expend resources to do so. It's just a nice to have type thing. Makes sense to me. All right, so we've talked about the cards in the deck at this point and all the sideboard cards and when you want to play these cards and like kind of what the idea is and the strategy behind these on a general sense. Now let's kind of hone this in and talk about some of the main meta decks that we can expect, right? We'll just go in alphabetical order just to make it a little bit easier. So we'll start with Azalea, okay? So Azalea here is the exact same board plan that we had before when we were talking about the main, except we are playing adaptive plating instead of Stonewall Gauntlet, which makes sense. Adaptive plating, it allows you to get the extra 3 block in certain situations, whereas the Stonewall Gauntlet is only like an effective 2 block, right? Is that kind of the vibe of why you do that? Okay. And then against Azalea, can you give us the rundown on what the general game play looks like, like what the early game looks like when you generally make a pivot. Like what's your deal there? Like, are you blocking a little bit here and there? Are you usually just trying to hit them as hard as you can depending on the disruption they send, that kind of stuff?
Yeah. So firstly, this sideboard is going second sideboard.
Okay.
So if I going first, then I will cut 2 yellow T-bone for 2 extra tackle ponder to maximize my my drawing item in the first hand.
Sure.
And against Acelia, you want to hit as much as you can, and um, you're getting 8 armors in your slot is very amazing because this a number. It's a critical number for Acelia that she need to use 2 pumps to get through their arrows to 11.
Right.
And in the late game, you can even use your equipment plus adaptive planning to block egg as well. So getting egg block, 5 block plus the hand to block egg in against Acelia is amazing. And against Acelia, you want to hit her as much as possible in the early games because you don't want to let her see the high value card like Codex.
Right.
And
and Red and Ledger and whatnot. They can pump a big Red and Ledger. That's a pretty big deal. Right.
Yeah. And this is the matchup that I not too high prioritize of the maximum velocity because if your arsenal this is quite a risk to losing it with inertia tokens. And but other than that, in Argo matchup, you want to go second, and you want to use your Tasha as much as possible, unless you're on a ferocity tokens. And other than that, this matchup that pulse wave for 2 is good enough. And Combusto Courier did a great job in this matchup. And other than I think this matchup is 50-50 or slightly favor for Dash because Dash is very high output deck, and she have enough armor block for a single pump. And other than that, I think it's pretty normal. You just maximize your output every turn, and then you will find out that you will outracing them quite easily.
Yeah, the damage output is better for Dash if unhindered by something like a Red and Ledger, obviously. Right. So yep. Okay. So you say that it's slightly favored. I'm gonna be honest, I didn't actually expect that just because I know they have Red and Ledger and ways to like get those out. But I can definitely see it if you're able to just get like one good push turn. You can force them in a position where they have to block with more cards, which means that their output is less, so they in turn kind of fall off, right, in that situation. So and then the armor block is pretty good.
Yeah, it's better right now because we're playing Tasha. Back then we play Pistol Pen, and then when they play a Codex of Verity, then you feel like shit when you draw the high octane, and then you feel very bad. But right now, you have a Tasha is at least is going for free under the Tasha under the Verity, and
no, that makes more sense because it's Talishar. It allows you to be even more aggressive. That's a good point. Okay, cool. So slightly favored into Azalea, 50-50 to slightly favored. Well, we'll go into the mirror here, this Dash mirror. So you're playing Stonewall Gauntlets in the Dash Mirror. You're playing Induction
I
Chamber.
it should be the pistol pen and the let's say the adaptive plating. I don't know why it doesn't show, but yeah.
Okay. So pretend this is pistol and pretend this is adaptive plating. So we'll
Yeah.
go through there and we'll just kind of move down. But it is pistol plan in this case. So you're doing induction chamber, of course, with the pistol because it doesn't make sense to have Talishar with induction chamber, right? And then you're playing the high octanes and whatnot, but you're not bringing in the full pistol plan, right? So you trying to split your damage evenly. Is that like kind of the intent here on only playing the one?
Yeah, I think against the deck that don't play defense reactions
Mm.
and you use a single chamber is enough to get through them.
Yeah,
And
yeah, that's good.
with the deck that plays defense reaction is you might have to consider that running more pistol package against them. And
Yep.
I've tested in the dash mirror. If you run this sideboard against a full pistol package, then you will always win because
Cool.
you don't you don't have time to play the item
Sure.
unless you are turn one plasma, turn two plasma, then forget it. And but
Yeah, sure,
if
sure.
not, if not, then you always win by not having some redundant item on your deck that you're drawing in the middle of the game. Then you always feel bad. And uh, yeah, so Combustor Courier is back for this matchup because Dash has some armors to block it.
Yep.
And also the Yellow T-Bone doesn't work because they have the accelerators. And outside of that, you just be patient. Don't over commit to your Tackle Foundry hard in this matchup because
Mm-hmm.
it's not a Talishar matchup. So setting up for big turns, then you should get it in the mirrors. Unless they are using same approach, then
Sure.
yeah, it's based on luck then. But
Yeah.
yeah, I'm pretty happy with this sideboard against the dash mirror.
Cool. Yeah. So that makes sense. Don't need the extra items because you just might not have the time. And then you're not playing defense reactions into each other, so it makes a lot of sense that you would play chamber pistol because it makes it to where like if they want to stop that damage, they have to give 2 cards, or they're taking 2. Whereas if you're playing Talishar, well, first off, you don't want to play Talishar because it breaks. But if you think of it in that vein, they can give 1/3 block, and then they only take 1, so they're taking more damage by just playing induction chamber.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's one thing. If your opponent playing Tasha and Panda, then you might have to consider to block more.
Right.
So you get a bigger turn when they are Panda and Tasha running out. Then you can come back with a higher damage output to win
Right.
that. So my advice is don't race with Tasha Panda Dash. If they
Mm.
go full Argos, then just be patient to block more and then do some higher values and don't raise it until their Panda runs out.
Yep. Cool. All right. So going to Enigma. So this is one of the newer decks, and you're playing 61 cards here. I noticed that earlier. What is the 61st card? I guess it's this chamber. You want to have like your consistency on all of these cards. Is that kind of the idea? Is there a reason that you're playing? Like maybe you could cut like a zipper hit or something. I was just kind of curious about this myself.
Yeah, I think because I think one card doesn't affect a lot in
Yeah, sure.
because you start with a chamber, so it's basically 60 card in your
Right.
deck. And uh, I think this matchup, I think some people may wonder why I did not one full pistol package, and
Yep. Yep.
because what I test is they have much. I think they build up their board very quickly that I
Sure.
expect. Uh, when they once they transcend and then they are mirror guys slamming out and you don't have a way to do with it, then you are free lost into that matchup.
Yeah.
So uh, for this matchup, you have to play extremely patiently because they do run defense reactions
Right.
and they tend to block a lot. And uh, luckily, I think most of the list not running. Well, I'm not sure they're running full step or not, but if they do, then you have to be more careful about uh, using your pistol because it's quite under the value when they
Sure.
can use their phantasmal footstep for multiple blocks. And uh, this matchup is basically 2 2 5 8. Just attack with these numbers,
Sure.
and then clear up the board. And I would say it's quite like when Dromai is alive, then you have to take care of their boss,
Sure.
and but do not overboost because the matchup will usually go very few go will go into a situation that you only left very few cards in your deck.
Yeah.
So yeah, this what I approach against Enigma, and also the Gogalith Gollet have to
Yep.
push a bit when they set up a big turns. So
Yeah. Yeah. Would you consider this matchup favored, unfavored?
I would consider this matchup slightly unfavorable for Dash
Slightly. Okay.
because experienced Enigma knows how to maximize their value and they run
Sure.
6 defense reactions. And I have to say, Mirror Guy is very tough to deal with.
Yeah. 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 That's a very good
So
card for sure.
even I clear it up, it can absorb 4 more damage easily
Right.
because it won't they won't let it die into the pistol 2 for 2.
Yeah.
So uh but if against a not very experienced Enigma, I would say this 50-50. So but
Cool.
against some experienced Enigma, I would say 40-60 or something like that.
Yeah. Okay. So 10% here or there. Yeah. Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, just when they generate a board state, like the big thing, just like in any of the control decks or the mid-rangey style decks, you need to be able to clear their board, right? So
Yeah.
there might be situations, we talked about this a little bit beforehand, but if you have the opportunity to clear their board and push more damage, are you generally trying to do that, or are you trying to be like the Guardian, where it's like you don't use all of your gas at once, because when they do set up a board, you need to be able to have a reaction to building that, to combating that board? Is that kind of the same idea, or do you just try to kill them as quickly as possible?
Uh, I would say I will I will save up the gas until I saw they use the head for the guy.
Sure.
And after they use the head, then I will try to push through the damage as quick
Yeah.
as possible
Okay.
because I don't want to leave them time to do some powerful stuff. And so the key is how to manage to get through the first mirror guy turn, but
Right.
after that, just push as hard as possible.
Okay. Yeah. So similar game plan to what I was just talking about. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. All right. So Enigma, slightly unfavored to 50-50. We'll go into Kano. Traditionally, I see this one as Dash favored. Would you agree?
Yeah.
Okay.
You always want to run into Kanos, I would say.
Yeah. Sure. And then, so you're not playing Pistol Package, which makes sense. You're playing the Talus Shard, and you mentioned that like playing your playing Tekla Pounder out is effectively making them at 24, which is very, very important, right? But yeah, you don't need your pistol plan here, which is the high octanes and all of these points here, and then the T-bones and the backup protocol don't really need those as well. You're adding the blues over the T-bones. Makes sense. Your game plan in this, are you being just as aggressive as possible type thing, or?
Yeah, I think being aggressive as possible, and also there's always tricks that you can do against Kano is you leave your arsenal as a zero cost boost cast, and when start of the turn you play your arsenal, and then use a blue to activate Foundry Heart,
Sure.
which leave them for a very hard time, because either they decide to kill you at that point, which is quite hard, or they let you get the resource, and then you get a full resource, and then you can do whatever you want.
Right. Yeah.
So
yeah,
generally, it is a quite good matchup for the Dash, and yeah, the MVP is the Tackle Foundry Heart,
for sure,
and use it as frequent as possible.
Yep, because you're not going to run out of deck before they're dead. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, so you're starting with Tekla Pounder in this matchup.
Yeah.
Which makes sense. And then you're just hitting them as hard as you can, just kind of summarizing here. And then, that's a good tip is you always want to start with a zero cost and then use your blue to Tekla Foundry Heart to have extra resources just to be flexible. And then another interesting thing to think about too is if you do start with a zero from your arsenal and attack them, and if they decide to block, then that gives you a lot of information as well, right? So depending on how they're using their hand, if they're blocking, they're not killing you like almost ever, right? So then you can say, okay, I'll just, won't play as conservatively and throw my hand even harder and leak more damage, right?
Yeah. And then if they block you, then you can repeat this process,
right?
And then you don't have to spend all your cards, and then you just save another zero cost card into your arsenal, and then repeat, and then their life will running out eventually.
Yeah. Rinse and repeat until they're gone. That makes sense. Okay. The next K hero, we're gonna play KO, right? So you're playing pistol here. Is this correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
This is the matchup that KO has a chance to fatigue you, because they are much more armors than other usual Argo decks, and what they tend to do is block 2 and then swing back you, or bear fang you.
Sure.
Just like they adapt to the block 2 and then play 2 cards. Play pitch of blue and then attack with a 2 for 8, something like that.
Sure.
And if you're against this approach, then you have to run a pistol package, because otherwise your Tasha will running out very soon.
Sure.
But also they can have a very high they can have some high rollers like drawing brush earlier and then raise you. And that's why this matchup I'm starting with a Panda, but I also start with a pistol package, but tackle plasma pistol. And
with the high octane.
In this matchup, you have to adjust what your opponent do. If they go if they roller that always roll Zap Skin and then keep all the cards in their hand, then you should raise them. If they like the US second Andrew, how they play and block 2 and then play a card, then you might have to think to set up more big turn like high octane and a
Sure.
maximum velocity, and then use the 258 to as a breakpoint against them, and this matchup is, I would say, is a 50-50 because Kyle has relatively so much armors, and all their armors was very much stronger than mine, besides of
Right.
maybe a Taco Foundry Hearts, because their Apex Breakers and the Savage Slash and the flashback, they are all
Yeah.
insane value.
They have like the best armor in the game for sure. Like when it comes to overall value, it's actually crazy.
Yeah, so it's I would say the most fun matchup
Okay.
for
Yeah.
Dash, and then you surely you have to adjust in the game, and because I is a is a is a side is the cyborg against them, but mostly important is how you
How you
manage
play.
to how you play.
Yeah. You have
It's
to
more
kind of
important.
be reactionary. You don't commit to one game plan. You're dependent on how they're playing against you, which makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
There's also a interesting point that you can sometimes if they block to play to, then you can play a mind game, and you leave 4 cards hand, and then an arsenal you can play a mind game that even without any cooperate card, you can use your twin drive to boot twice to
Sure.
fake you have a maximum velocity
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
your
Yeah. And you
arsenal,
can bait the flashback out, right? Yeah.
and you can bait the flashback out, and
Mhm.
there's some little mind games. If your opponents are good enough, they might notice there's a possible way for you to play the maximum velocity, and
Right.
sometimes to get away their flashback and without too much value.
Sure. Yeah. Makes sense. Well, that's cool. I didn't expect you to say this was the most fun matchup, to be honest. So you like this one just because like you have the flexibility of playing one side or the other. Is that kind of
Yeah,
like why you like this? Okay, that's
yeah,
cool. That's cool.
because it is different in and it's it is it could be quite different amongst two games. Some
Yeah,
games
exactly.
you play super aggressive, and another game you play relatively not too aggressive. It's so
Sure.
fun to play against Kano.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's neat. Okay, so you said it was roughly 50-50, and you want to
Yep.
choose second generally.
Yes,
Okay,
I consider Kyle as a between Argo and a mid-range heroes,
sure,
and so I want to go second. But
sure,
I'm happy even if I go first, then I have a chance to slam the items. Then
sure.
it's good.
Yeah, yeah. Makes sense. Okay. So we got a couple more. So we have new. So new is the trickiest out of the new decks, right? Um, so it looks like you're playing the pistol package here, but with the induction chambers, not the plasma purifiers. Um, what is your general game plan on this? I wouldn't consider them like aggro, of course, right? So,
Yeah.
like, what are you trying to do?
Uh, so new new is the, I would say, relatively defensive heroes
Yeah.
because they are they are obviously they are running 4 to 6 defense reactions, and all their brews are 0 for 1, so which
Mm,
encourage them to block, and they are they can disrupt you by the mask of the mask
right.
that banish a card from your hand.
Yep.
And overall, it's a very tough matchup for Dash, I would say. But even that, I'm not suggest you to play Plasma Purify because it spend when you against them, they have some cold deaths and many disruption.
Sure.
And if they left you with items, then you can do nothing about it.
Right.
And in this matchup, I will try to play even lesser aggressive than, because you can see I play 2 induction chamber,
Right.
and it helps you to get through the late game. And this matchup, you can see I also side out maximum velocity because against heavily disruption matchup, I don't see myself that I have a room to play this.
Pretty difficult when they're
So
ripping cards out of your hand constantly. Yeah.
yeah, and yeah, just play it normal, do your highest value, and don't mind to arsenal some shitty card, like
Yeah.
blue tackle punters,
Sure.
because they have lots of arsenal disruption,
Sure.
and you don't mind to get banish your tackle punter from the arsenals. And there's also key points that unlike what I said before, this matchup you cannot you cannot wait for your high octane, because it's quite easy that they draw a codex of 30 and then it lock down your high octane. So
Sure.
when you draw it even with a single blue, you should go for it and try to get lucky to draw some zero boost red attack
Okay.
or the blue with it, because you because yeah, Codex is such a great card
Yeah.
against high octane. And this matchup I consider is quite hard, so you have to play differently than your usual.
Sure.
Then yeah,
Sure. Would you
don't
say
let their
it's
fail don't let their frailty to jam your high octane.
sure? Yeah. Would you say it's so you say it's unfavored, but to what level, like percentage wise, do you think?
I would say, because I my teammate Shane,
Yeah. Yeah.
he
Of
is a
course.
new master, and I play against him. I felt like 35 to 65.
Yeah. Yeah. I can see that. I can see that. And you're starting with induction chamber, just to clarify, right?
Yep.
Yep. And then, what are you usually grabbing back with your protocol?
Usually it's a red 0 to 60,
Okay.
because it it because it's uh depends on how much resource you left. If you have
Sure.
a 1 or even 2 tackle cores in the field, then you can grab back even twin drive or something like that.
Right. Yep. Okay. Makes sense. We are almost at the end. So Victor, you know how much I love Victor. So let's talk about this guy. So you're playing the pistol package into him, cutting combustible courier because us Victor players we love to block. You're cutting max velocity and T-bone, and then the protocol red you don't really need, which makes sense. So starting the game with induction chamber, I assume.
This matchup, I play full pistol package because Victors love to block,
Yes, we
and
do.
you are very happy when you block 2 cards in hand and then you play an item and then leave their block stuck on their hand,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
which it feels great. And um, this matchup, you have to play. Uh, you you can you you should boost less, I say, because you have a chance to boost away your items.
Sure.
And but you but overall, I think with I cut the maximum velocity for the same reason, because they are quite heavily disruption.
Right.
And what I think the most powerful thing for them to do is the CNC pommels. And if at the start of filters, you can boost fields to see how they approach to the games. If they want to block less to swing back a spinal to you, then you can boost even more, because it also depends how you adjust, because we're now not playing the defense reactions
Right.
like before, so we cannot block and then grind until the late game we shoot the pistol. And also Victor gets a new good card called Visit, and
Yes.
and you actually don't want to let them drag into the long games, because once they snowball with the glow, then and then even they swing, even they come with a rouse or something high high power go again, you are very hard to defend with it.
Right.
So I would say boost less if they are more defensive, like running sync belows. But I see some victors, they are not running defense reaction nowadays, but still they does. If they are relative aggressive and paying more mid rangey, then you can block less and trade life with them. And yeah, so do your maximum values, and it is what it is. Sometimes you have to boost and then boost your way your items, and then you have to find a way out to close it out the games.
Sure.
Is a very skill intensive match, I would say.
Right.
And I personally don't know, not very sure how this matchup goes like, but I would say maybe because the new card is so powerful, I would say 45 to Dash and then 55 to Victor's.
Okay. Yeah, that's pretty close. I generally feel pretty favored when I'm playing Victor into the average Dash players, but against the best Dash player, I might have a little bit harder time, right?
I don't know.
We'll have to play some more. We'll have to play some more. Okay. Yeah, all of this makes sense. It's good stuff. It's interesting now that because you don't have the defense reactions, you are boosting a little bit more, so you do have that risk of getting rid of some of these cards. But I do think it is correct, especially with the majority of Victor lists not playing more defensively. They're looking to trade, so you're kind of like walking the life totals down. So it makes sense. In that capacity to kind of like, you know, do a little bit more boosting, take a little bit more risk, so you can go ahead and pull forward. And you know, like you said, the longer the game goes against a Victor, and they're able to get more value out of their block cards and more value out of their visit gold maintenance states and whatnot, it's just, it becomes harder because the deck does snowball. The more gold they get, the more they're able to just go crazy, right? So cool. All right, so last but not least, the big deck in the format is Zen here. So the whole reason that we were talking about you playing Stonewall Gauntlet, you're playing Talishar, you're playing all of these cards that we know of from the very beginning when we started talking about this list. Generally, you want to go second, right? Now, is this similar to the Azalea plan? If you go first, do you play the 3-pounders and cut to T-bones, or no, or throttles maybe in this case?
Yeah, I will cut 2 yellow throttles for
Yep.
a 2-pounders.
Yep.
And you can see I'm heavily target Sen in this
Right.
list.
Yep.
And after my testing, that if I going second, I cut 2 pounders because I want all my draw are guessed, and so against Sand, even delay photo is not good enough.
Okay.
This how harsh this matchup is,
Sure.
and against this matchup, like I said, getting away their equipments before they transcend is just a dream.
Yeah. Sure. Sure.
Don't yeah, just you will be happy to get away some in turn 0, but
Mm,
it's not a reliable game plan.
right.
What you should do is use damage to push through it because you are also quick enough, and cutting 2 punters in going second, because either way you don't have time to play the tackle punters. I felt great, and cutting the blue cards also make, because uh, the most the most uh, the most output line is you draw a single blue with a 3 red, and then
Right.
in this matchup, if you're starting a blue tackle punter, then you only run 18 blues,
Right.
and that's how I approach into this matchup. And against them, you hit as harsh as you can, and try to find a way to disrupt them with a pulse wave harpoon,
Sure.
and then yeah, remember to break your accelerators. Don't leave it
Right.
unused,
Right.
and if everything goes well, then you should be able to get them when you're going second.
Okay. So would you say this is a pretty close matchup, 50-50 ish?
I would say 50-50 if going first,
Okay.
and then 55-45 if going second.
For the dash. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. So
So
go ahead.
yeah, because there's a interesting story that my pudding, my teammate's pudding, he
Mm,
running fake fast again, Sam,
yep.
and then but most of the players, they don't run fake fast against. They don't run fake fast in their deck even,
Right. Right.
and I do not know how my teammates pudding will
Yeah.
encourage the Sand to play fake fast in their
Yeah.
deck.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because if they do, that will be much difference in this approach. And but right now, I will assume they did not run any defense reaction in
Right.
their
Right.
deck, and just pure race.
Sure.
And I think I I think in a pure race matchup, dash output is, if because when you play Tasha, and before I play Sand, the most higher value average per turn that I play is dash usually,
Right.
because the tackle punters doing their work, and is very the damage output is very amazing. And
Sure.
if you looking for Argo Dash that non-sand, and then have a lesson hand requirement,
Hmm.
then
Hmm.
you can play into meta. I think you can try Dash, because it has a room for the best deck in the format, and
Sure.
you can beat it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of flexibility with this deck, and at least with the percentages that we've talked about, this deck does seem pretty strong in this meta. Like it's we've been calling it a road deck because people just
Yeah.
aren't playing it, but it's not like it shouldn't be played is the important part to think about this. But yeah, just talking about the pudding match. So he was playing Flick Flack, like you were saying. I that game I've never seen on camera somebody activate the chest to make a Zen state token. I thought that was so crazy, and just getting the value
Yeah,
out of that was pretty interesting for sure. And then I didn't even know he was playing Put Black until basically the end of the game when you draw like two at once, right? So
yeah.
yeah, it was very interesting. But against like that, let's say Zen moves towards playing Flick Flack and being a little more not completely just I'm going to kill you as fast as possible, you kill me as fast as possible situation. Like, do you still think that the matchup is 55-45 if you're going second?
Uh, I think I generally don't think running fake fair is too big of a problem
Yeah,
because if they are for drawing that, then
that's true. That's
they
true.
are breakers. So according to the Sam matchup, I don't see Sam getting fatigued.
Sure.
Instead, they are getting out out damage by putting at last because they cannot catch up for the damage. And I think that's a but you should make a good habit that make your big attack first, that you don't get uh don't get blown out by the fake
Sure.
fat.
Sure. Yeah, you
And
want to attack with your
yeah,
3 afterwards. That way, when they block with their 5, it's not as big of a deal.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. There's not a matchup apply for the 258 theory. You always want to start with your red photo, and
Right.
then you leave the something like a yellow 0 to 60 at the middle, so you don't get
Sure.
wrecked by the fake fat.
Sure. Yeah, no, that makes sense. But okay, so in general, they can break if they do the Art of War and they're playing the Black and whatnot. So it's kind of a risk on their point. But if they line up, it could be pretty good. Yeah. So ultimately, this is the kind of meta that we are in now, where we've gone through Azalea, Dash, Enigma, Kano, KO, New, Victor, and Zen, and we're doing pretty good against all of those as Dash player. Now we're going to go into the second to last segment. Is with Dash being good, how do we beat Dash as the meta? Like what decks are good against Dash? What strategies are good against Dash? In your opinion, that kind of like if we have a big Dash player at our local scene and we want to be able to beat that person, how do we do that?
Okay. So the first thing the Dash uh nowadays most scary about is the CNC, because the slot is very intense and some Dash might not have room for the Crown of Providence.
Right.
And Crown, once you if they don't play Crown of Providence, your single CNC can disrupt their maximum velocity turn,
Right.
because they have to get rid of one card, and then all of the sudden uh, your maximum velocity is stuck in the arsenal, and next turn you draw a new 4 hands, you might not be playable of
Right.
your maximum velocity. And so if your opponents do not play Craft Borderlands, you might want to stay higher prioritized for your CNC. And what deck is good to beat Dash? I would say MST heroes besides Sand.
Yeah.
Quite good against Dash. But as I say, Dash is a kind of road that you can have many good pep uh,
Right.
in Tasha, I would say.
Yeah.
And because it's quite different when you play against a good Dash player in real life and compared to Tasha.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
And you need to know how they uh, plan for the you kind of know how what will they do. For example, For example, like Sand. If you felt like they going to play the pulse wave harpoon, then you can block your, if you're going to a big turn anyway, you can block with your traverse and the shoes before that, so you get two non blocks to show them, which
Right. Yeah, yeah. That's a good point.
yeah. So you are quite easily to get 3 non blocks, then they can strip away a card from your hand.
Mhm.
And against and then how to beat this, and is if Dash run Tasha, and you are capable to block more, then and you have a good better late game than Dash, then you can try to block more,
Sure.
which is the easier way to beat Tasha's Dash. And once they run out the Tasha, it's very normal for them to have some floating resource wasted.
Right.
And against the Dash, because once they push, and it lose a card from their deck. So if they try to play, if the game plan is not activate Foundry Heart, then you should adjust to attack them to force them to bite back to you, and
Right.
then you change it to block. It's a quite fun play.
Sure.
If they just very passively shoot pistol 2+2, and then follow with a 0 to 60 no boost, then you can take some damage to play more defense aggressive disruptive card to force them either take away card from them, and then or you attack them harder and force them to attack you back, and then you just suddenly change to block 12, something like that.
Right.
And your playstyle, you once you, because Dash is a hybrid deck, then you can also use a hybrid playstyle to against them to make them feel a harder time
Right.
in that. And yeah, I think that's it. I, and Dash is very close to Living Legend,
Yes.
and I I generally did not see how she can have a place in the Living Legend, and
Sure. Sure.
but but I think Dash is. I hope Dash is pretty. I think since Dash has a good matchup against Wizard, then like the LL Icelander, then you is very good
Sure.
against them. I can see Dash become viable in upcoming Rosetta matters. So
Sure.
it's always good to get some prep against Dash in your local matters. Then you might want to know how to face it when you're playing new heroes in Rosetta.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. That's a good point. Dash should be decently well positioned in the new meta, which makes sense. So, just to review, you said Command and Conquer, of course, is like the generic that you can play against Dash. You want to play that against them because they don't really have the opportunity. You can kind of throw their turn off, right? Then you're saying like depending on their game plan, if they're on Talishar, if you can block more, that's usually a good plan because you can usually kind of outlast depending on what type of hero and what kind of defense that you have. Then if they are playing pistol game plan, if they're playing a little more defensively, you can kind of do this walk down, like, stagger the health total with them and then kind of push them on an angle to where it's like, oh, they drew the extra item, now they can't block a whole lot because they want to set up a turn or something along those lines. Did I review that correctly, would you say?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, good deal. Well, with all that, do you have any closing thoughts? I do have a question for you after the closing thoughts, though.
I think Dash is in numbers. Dash is quite a decent deck, but also Dash is lack of on hit, so it's
Sure.
very skill intensive for your fundamentals because
Yep.
what you need to do is maximize your values every turns because you compare to the other decks in the meta like New or Enigmas, their play pattern was quite they can uh, they can be very complicated, but in Dash, especially Tasha, and is in Tasha is quite easy because you just go all in, but I think I think in you have to prep for a very long time in a matchup that you are not sure you should use tackle foundry hard or not because
Sure.
I play against Dromai when there is Worlds Barcelona, so all of my games ended with no cards in deck and then win on that turn.
Mm,
So which means if I make a single more boost or foundry hard activation, then I might lost the game.
right.
And I think the most difficult part is how you evaluate the heart, because in in theory then you should use it every turn, but in in the late game it will bite back you by
Right.
punishing for doing maybe I always discuss with my friend that if I use a foundry heart for extra pistol for 2, is it worth it? And the answer is always different in the different
Sure.
spot, which is I think is quite hard, but it's also happy thing to evaluate because the is my loving part of the fashion, but it's complicated.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure. Yeah, fair points. Very skill intensive deck, testing your fundamentals makes sense. So my question for you is when Dash is living legend, who's your new favorite hero?
Okay, so I could see because I'm room based biased
Okay.
before Dash,
Yeah.
so I could see myself playing one of the two Rosetta room plays. Right now, I'm more lean on the light room base,
Sure.
and I think the ability that discard a card and then draw a card, they might have their reason, or I
Yeah.
think they
Yeah.
will
Yeah.
generate something like coaching tiger, but as an instant,
Right.
then you can
Yeah.
discard. Yeah, but
Yeah. I could see something
also,
along those lines.
yeah, and of course, uh, I I although I play Sand in national, I not a big fan of very explosive combo
Sure.
decks, and I want to play more mid rangey.
Sure.
I hope the Rosetta doing me good, and we can back to a much more grindy meta.
Yeah, yeah, that'd be nice. I'm excited for the Earth Heroes for obvious reasons, and me being the type of player that I am. Even
Yeah,
Florian looks really cool, making it up to Rune Chance maybe, and then Verdance. I'm not convinced she will be that good, but she will be very cool. You know, like being able to deal Arcane when you play a Findle's Fighting Spirit seems really, really neat to me. So
yeah,
cool. Yeah,
three
we have
four
a lot
nine.
of exciting things to look forward to, and hopefully the it makes it to where the game isn't just all about aggro at this point. But Well, Alan, I appreciate you coming on and talking in depth with Dash IE and giving everybody this opportunity to see the master at work, right? So, yeah, to wrap up this episode, I want to thank our sponsors. We have Fabric.gg, Magnolia Games, and Dragon Shield. Fabric.gg, I used them last stream, on stream, talking about the different ratios that you can do and like what people are playing in some of these new decks and what the percentage wise is on that. Magnolia Games, you can pre-order Rosetta right now in the description below, so you can hook that up and they will send it to you the release week, and that's all yours. And then Dragon Shield, of course, for your for all your card protection needs. Right, been using them for 10 years. Going to continue to use them for as long as I play cards. Now, Alan, do you have any shout outs that you would like to kind of?
Yeah. Thanks for having me again.
Sure.
And I think if please check out to our Bluefish Twitter or YouTube channels.
Mm-hmm.
So make sure to keep tracking. We'll make more videos in the upcoming future because we quite busy in a few months ago. So right now we are quite free because we also don't have PoleQuest or RTN seasons till the worlds after worlds. So stay tuned to our channel, and yeah, thanks for having me again.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm sure we're going to have a show match coming up with Rosetta and whatnot too. We'll do some more of that stuff. It'll be a great time. All right. Well, again, Alan, appreciate you being on. It's been a great time. And I appreciate all the information on Dash. I'm going to go play some Dash now. We'll see you guys later.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.